My name's Leah. I'm a mum of three. Three amazing children. One of which is diagnosed with autism, ADHD, and dyspraxia, but it's now called developmental coordination disorder now. That's its new term. And my other son is awaiting an ADHD assessment, and my other son is dyslexic, but all equally amazing individuals.
How do you do the journey? Because for me, what do I say to people when I talk about my son? I said, you have these expectations of parents of what your journey is going to look like. You know, you plan to meet somebody and then you plan to have one or children. And I had this vision of how the journey was going to go. When did you start noticing? What was the journey that you had in your mind with your children? And when did you start thinking, this isn't what I planned?
See, for me, like, it's really weird. For me, it's kind of not what I planned. It's just, okay, this is new. Okay, let's see how this goes on, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think there's been a moment where I felt like this isn't what I planned. It's more, okay, this isn't how it should be in terms of development. So let's kind of explore what's going on, if that makes sense. I think because I've worked with children, so that's always been instilled in me that every child is different, and no two children are the same, no matter if they're siblings. So it's always been instilled in me that every child's different, and to embrace those differences. So I think it's come as like, okay, this is different, let's see, let's explore it. Yeah, I think it was around, I'd say 2, where I thought, this terrible tease is lasting a long time. That was kind of, that 2 was definitely the journey of where it's like, okay, this is where we kind of, the differences are becoming really different in comparison to other 2-year-olds. So let's see where we go.
Help us out, because I think for me as a mum, when I was watching my son, again, some of it I thought was great because I thought he's different, and so, you know, gifted and talented. I didn't see it as struggling, but I think the thing that happened to me was that the nursery staff started pulling me up and saying he's biting a lot. But I just put that down to, okay, he's just young, he's figuring his way out, and so he's biting. So I had to do a lot of work around trying to manage that. What was the thing that you spotted, or were there no particular things? Because you said terrible 2s. So what were you seeing?
See, again, my journey was like, no one pointed anything out. It was me that was like, do you not think that this is a bit? And it was more just the behaviour, just the lack of verbal communication, you know, not much eye contact, body language was quite cold. Obsessions was that was my biggest red flag, was obsession. So he had an obsession over a box of Cheerios, and that box of Cheerios went everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I've got pictures of him in the park with this box of Cheerios in his hand. It went everywhere. So obsessions was my main, like, this is something. But yeah, no one else really picked up on it. There was lots of, he's young, the boy, you know, they develop different. There was lots of that, and it was, for me, it was like, when are we going to stop using that as a cause for what's going on?
Tell us, when did you stop accepting the summer-born boys? Because my son is June, so summer-born. I understand that. They take a little longer, and with the teething, they were, with what, the biting, they said he should grow out of it, but we were struggling because he kept on, the nurseries ended up just saying to us, he's got to leave, the parents are complaining. So I ended up having to pull him out of 3 nurseries, and there was always this struggle with, okay, where is he safe, what are the triggers? So at what point did you think Summer Born no longer works, and what did you do?
Listen, I'd never listened to that Summer Born boy thing, because again, all children are different, and as much as things are scientifically proven, and you know, studies have been proved this and studies have proved that, is my child, and I know instinctively that something is not okay. Not okay, because you know he is okay, but I know that something is different. So from being in school, from when he started nursery, that's when I was like on the case every day, like something's not right, like let's explore it. But again, nursery is quite young, and unless things are kind of prominent, even though they were, and looking back, like, yeah. But yeah, nursery is quite young, but for me it was nursery when I was on the case.
Did you get any of the nurseries saying to you parent training? Because that's one of the protocols. I had to do a parent training class, and it wasn't until I looked round that I realised they thought it might have been me.
No, only because I work in childcare and worked with the age group at that time, who the strategies and things that they would have suggested, I was already doing, because of that. Like, that was my training, that's my background. So yeah, that wasn't the case for me. But I know that that is the kind of go-to thing. First of all, is like, well, let's look at parenting, and is it a parenting thing? Do parents need support in, you know, terms of like behaviour management, developing routines and stuff like that? So I know that that is the first port of call before any other investigations.
Because I think that was one of the things they looked at with me, was just routine.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing they were looking at was the family background. Did that make any difference? Because they were looking for what is happening in your family background that may be an issue. Was that a red herring, or do you see validity in it?
Yeah, I feel like that is important, because before you diagnose, you have to rule out, could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be that there's lack of routine in home? Could it be that, you know, there's lots of change, or, you know, things like lots of change, so the child kind of feels unsettled, doesn't really know where they fit in. So yeah, there's lots of things that I feel like you do definitely need to rule out before you go down, is it autism, is it ADHD? I think because they are both lifelong conditions, so if it's something that can be, you know, not solved, but something that can be resolved with a change in routine or a change in parenting style, then I do think that it is valid to kind of look at those things first.
Okay. If there was a parent listening to us now, what sort of things do you think they should be boxing? Is there a go-to book? Is there a go-to website? Is there, you know, first of all, you know, Parenting 101, check these 3 things, because you were already on it. You're saying because you were in the industry, but I'm thinking I wasn't in the industry and I didn't know what it was that I should have been checking. So before any of us start thinking there is an issue, what should we be checking for in the home to make sure it's okay? If that's too long, if that's too long a question, then we can break it down. But I'm just thinking it would have been useful for me to have had some sort of starting point. My child is biting, but I had no idea of where I should be looking or what I could be doing to make things better for him, or what might be triggering. Does that make sense, Leah?
Yeah. And I feel like in those circumstances, or if like that's your situation, turn to your healthcare professional, speak to your health visitor, speak to your GP. There's a community nursing team. I know I reached out to the community nursing team when they were really young, and they were great, came and had a chat with me, and it was just more of a reassurance thing for me that I'm doing the right thing parenting wise, you know, I'm doing the right thing with routine, setting boundaries. So yeah, speak to your health team, like your GP, midwife, health visitor, community nursing team. I think accessing your Sure Start hubs, community centres, there's loads of information in those places as well.
Stop. There's another one. Sure Start centres. I thought they'd all shut down. Do they still exist?
Yeah,
and you talked about community teams. So tell us about who we could expect in the Sure Start Centre that I should be turning to.
So in your Sure Start centres, you have the Sure Start workers. I know in my local Sure Start centres, and I know there isn't many anymore, and funding needs to be poured back into them because they are invaluable in your community.
Right.
But in my Sure Start centre, there's a midwife, there's your Sure Start centre workers who you can signpost you to, you know, relevant services. So yeah, I mean, like I say, there's one local to me, but I don't know if there's many in lots of localities anymore.
Okay, but we could Google it, couldn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so Google Sure Start, try and find your nearest one then, and then start having conversations with the
information
team.
About what's available in communities is definitely lacking. Definitely lacking, and I think that's a hard thing, especially if people don't know where to look. And I think I was probably lucky in the fact that I'm in that field, so I kind of knew what was available or knew where to look, if that makes sense.
Yeah, tell us, because we're talking, I've got one experience, but it sounds so different from yours. So I'm now, as a parent, sat here thinking, if I had my time again, what is out there, Leah, for us as parents? What kind of materials, what is it that you saw that we didn't or may not know about?
So Sure Start centres, like I say, are invaluable. They can do different assessments, or they could. I mean, I'm talking like 7 years ago. What funding looks like for them now, I don't know. But at that time, they did a welcome assessment, which is a language and communication assessment. So that can assess where your child's language and communication skills are at, and they can highlight whether they might need a referral to speech and language, or what sort of activities you can do at home with them.
Thank you.
What else? There's a community nursing team, so I think you have to access them through school. I'm not 100% sure, but they should be with your community midwife team. So I think if your child's under 5, they still have a midwife. Again, don't quote me on those facts.
No, it's all right, but at least parents hearing this now have got some idea of who they can go to and just start asking. Did you have to be all technical, or did you just sit down and say, I think something's wrong?
No, just I was completely honest. Here are my concerns, and I feel like we should explore it. It's not an easy conversation, and I don't think it's a conversation. Like, I remember having a chat with a community nurse, and she was like, I can see you just want to wave a magic wand over the situation, and that just can't happen. It doesn't happen. So I think if you feel like your child is going down that road, just know that it's kind of a long road, but there is support along the way.
I cannot tell you how distressed I was and how afraid I was. And I think that is the hardest thing, is it's not even the future for them. It was the chaos, because I think I felt powerless because I didn't know how to handle it. How did you manage the journey emotionally?
Flipping heck. Hard. It's still hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. it's hard because it's a lifelong condition. So you kind of think of what life's like now, what life's like going to be like in 10 years, 20 years when I'm not here. Yeah, it's a hard conversation, and it's not just one conversation, it's many conversations with different healthcare professionals. And yeah, it's a hard. And I just want to preface that the school that all the issues, or not issues, but the school that they started their journey at is not the school that they're at now. The school that they're at now is amazing, but yeah, I just wanted to get that in there.
But tell us, because you're telling me that you've got a situation that you come into terms with. I had to come to terms with. So part of the journey must have been the educational journey and placing them in the right school, placing them in the right nursery. And I heard in your voice straight away, this one's great. What makes a great experience for you and your child then? What is great about this school?
Like, just support, and support can come in the form of someone just listening to you and not having the answers and not being able to say everything's going to be okay, because no one knows if everything's going to be okay, but it's just having a listening ear.
I was just going to ask both of you, actually, speaking to the emotional part for you guys as mothers, because it could be a lot depending on your journey towards diagnosis and treatment. Can I ask how the community that you guys are in, how receptive they were to your problems, or if you had any issues, did you have that community and that emotional network to kind of fall back on, and how was that experience?
Leah, do you want to answer first?
Community is in like family, friends.
Yeah.
I think it's hard because people are not with your child 24/7, so things that they get a snapshot of is just a snapshot of what's your everyday and what's your 24/7. So I think it's hard for people to have sometimes the understanding that you want them to have, or I think it's just hard for sometimes for people to have the level of understanding that you want them to have. But overall,
Do you find that maybe you relate better with mothers who have children that are also neurodivergent compared to friends with children who are neurotypical? Like, that you guys don't go through the same kind of everyday issues, so you find it easier to talk to people that...
Definitely.
I think, my family and friends are understanding and to a degree, but they don't understand, and that's not something that I can hold against them, because they don't understand, because they don't live it, and they don't, not everyone has the same 24 hours, do they? So I can't expect something that they don't live. So yeah.
That's really interesting, and really, I take my hat off to you, because for me, my family would just beat him because because his behaviour could be so difficult because of the biting, and because he struggled with managing himself. I remember we got into a fight because my sister said it was my family said, if you had beat him enough, he wouldn't be this way. And as a mother, that was like, it just destroys you completely. I didn't believe it, but also that sense of it, that ultimate challenge to your parenting that says you are not good enough as a parent was hard for me, because I looked to my family for support. They'd had kids before me, and yeah, for them to say beating was just like saying you're no good as a parent. If you had beat him, he would be da 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 da. And so I found myself withdrawing and not reaching into my community anymore, because it wasn't just my family who said it. It was other people. When I was trying to get support or more information, I kept on being hit with this. Then the notion that there was a discipline issue. And really, for me, what I wanted were more parents who were going through this so I could figure out how to manage it. And I ended up not having conversations with the family, and I ended up looking for support groups like a woman possessed. I looked for support groups and found online support groups, but I missed in person somebody who was going through it and could explain, and I struggled with that for years. So not easy. I think if he had displayed visual differences, they would have picked up on that, and then they would have kind of rallied round. But because everything about him was unseen, there was nothing wrong. And therefore discipline would sort everything like a spoonful of sugar. Oh, you developed a thick skin then? Or did you find a group that supported you? How do you cope?
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of get through. I've got no choice. Mum at the end of the day, and this is life, isn't it? This is a life I've been given, so let's do that.
Yeah. Whereas for me, it was the battle with the system, because we ended up going to CAMS. From CAMS, he didn't actually, bearing in mind, Leah, that I started this journey with my son from being in nursery. He didn't get a formal diagnosis until he was starting secondary school. So it was a long time of back. And it's like you said, you keep on going as parents. You keep fighting. You keep sending in. I think it strips you in some ways, because I had to prove that I was good enough as a parent. And Leah, I hear what you're saying. They've got to rule out the everything else. So they did speech and language therapy with him. He was put in a special school, and I don't know whether your children are, because, my concern was the school that he was put in was for for difficult children and it was almost like labeling him a naughty child with poor behaviour, and in some ways it stops people looking at neurodivergent ways of being as a skill to be developed rather than something to be managed in terms of poor behaviour. If you could advise, without giving anything away, how can we support parents? What direction would you point them to, that bit of help that helps them to see clearly and walk in the right direction? Because for me, there was a lot of, I felt like I was a crow circling all the time. And it wasn't until, for me, I found some professional bodies. Who did you find that made it easier for you to land in this brilliant place?
Myself. Like, I think just doing your own research. I think that's like one of the most important things, is doing your own research, and don't depend on anyone to point you in the right direction, because where they're pointing you may not be the right direction for your child, because every child with neurodivergency is completely different, and no two will have the same symptoms. So what might work for my child may not work for yours, and vice versa. So I think doing your own research and empowering yourself, getting yourself the knowledge of autism. There's so many free training courses that you can do online that just give you some more information. And I think the more information you have, information is a powerful tool, and the more information you have and the more knowledge you have, you can then take it to these professionals. And I think that is what something I would like say to anyone: do your own research, do online courses. I think Trafford College do courses on autism and ADHD and things like that, accredited courses, where you're getting a qualification out of it as well, and they're free. So yeah, doing your own research is definitely the biggest tool that you will have to get you and your child support. I think there's the Manchester local offer, which has got all information and directory on SEND services in Manchester. I think that's a really important one.
The local offer, the SEND, Special Educational Needs local offer, is something that you can find. Would it be under Manchester City Council?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So if a parent went on the City Council website, looked under Special Educational Needs and looked under local offer, they then start to see what is out there.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, I found an organisation called IPSEA, IPSEA, and they became my voice. To be fair, I'd been battling since Cameron was born. By the time he was 11, I was exhausted. It was brilliant to find an organisation that spoke on my behalf and became my voice. But they also had loads and loads and loads of information, which, you're right, the more you understand the system and the way it works, the better it is for you to navigate it. But I also think some parents aren't confident and so won't push forward, and getting someone to speak on your behalf, I think, works wonders as well. And I think the important thing was they're not judging me. I don't have to spend time convincing them that there is something happening. They get that bit. Their job is, okay, how do we support you? And it just flooded me with loads of information. And support groups, definitely for me, just because on the days I wanted to cry, and literally the days I just cried, because you're saying parenting is tough, our babies take it to another level.
There ain't no strength like being a parent of a neurodivergent child, I tell you that.
And like you, what I loved at the beginning of the conversation, and I still love my son. I don't sit there looking at him thinking ADHD. He's a cheeky little sprout, not so little anymore. And he comes different, and I appreciate the different. My look back is, I wish I'd had more support. More than anything else. I would have liked the support. I don't ask that you change him in any way, but the support and more opportunities to be able to just be with him. I think from what I'm hearing, you have enjoyed the time, and you've been gifted with 3 children who bring out the best in you in terms of those skills. I just one. But I think I would have liked to have enjoyed who he was more, instead of spending time battling all the time. In some ways, what happened with me then was I was so busy battling, I forgot to do the living with him and just enjoy who he was.
And I think that's hard. I think as parents, your job's hard enough anyway. But I think when the neurodivergent, it's easy to think, oh, I'm going shots, but I know that's going to cause a meltdown. Well, I'll just stay in, or I'm going here and I know that might draw attention and people might give me funny stares, or, you know, people might think, oh my gosh, what's wrong with them? And I think that creeps in, like, especially when they're younger and they're non-verbal, and, you know, think that creeps in all the time. You don't live that way, you just exist in. And I think they are who they are, and no amount of staying in and avoiding the shops, and, you know, it's very, don't get me wrong, shopping trips and things like that are very, very, very different. in terms of how we navigate it and what we do and what we don't do and places that we avoid, because, you know, that's distressing for them. But yeah, you just adjust your every day so that everyone's living and everyone's being themselves, really.
It's great that your children have such fierce and like loyal people looking out for them and, you know, like advocating to make a place for them within their education systems and just within a neurotypical world. But are there certain things that you guys do to try and instill a sense of self-advocacy and like self-coping and self-regulation that maybe some new parents that don't really know how to go about it would appreciate hearing?
Good question. What do you think, Leah?
I think for me, self-regulation is ever-changing. In my household, I think one day it might look like deep breaths, the next day it'll be talking. You know, I think self-regulation is so hard for neurodivergent children. I think that's one of the things that I would say is one of the biggest struggles is self-regulation. So I think I don't feel like I can answer that question because I just feel like it's so hard, and it's something that I'm working on and continually working on. And I think just trying your best, and I think whatever your best looks like day to day, your best is going to look like you're getting everyone washed and dressed and fed and keeping everyone alive. You know, you're just trying your best. And I think that's, as a parent, I think it's the simple things that we sometimes overlook, and it's the simple things that make the biggest difference. And the simple things is everyone's washed, dressed, fed, teeth brushed, we're all right. So I think, yeah, self-regulation is such a hard one.
Yeah.
And it looks different for everyone. I don't know how you feel about it, Yvonne, but yeah, it looks very different from day to day here.
I think you're right. And what I would say is be mindful, because one of the things that they kept on stressing with me is routine and behaviour. As a parent, I had to put down he's going to go to Oxford or Cambridge and he's going to become president of Barack Obama too. Put down that stuff, because that's the stuff that's going to crucify you.
Mm-hmm.
That was your dream. That was never theirs.
Mm-hmm.
They come. All children come with their own personality. So this whole thing that parents have of writing the journey for the kids, don't, because you're going to stress yourself out. So that was the first thing I had to learn, is put down my dreams and my expectations. I'm going to grow into whoever he becomes. Mm-hmm. And so learning to walk alongside him and not in front of him became important. This whole thing of dragging them to where you think they should go. I still try to have a structure around him, a 9 to 5, but I spent more time talking to him about values, things that we believed in, things that were important to us, but also at the same time trying to listen to him to make sure that the values that I was instilling in him were appropriate to where he was and were about his particular journey. Because, as I said, he is biracial. So my experience as a black woman and his father's experience were different. How racism shows up for him is different than how it shows up for me. And so as parents, we tried to navigate how he felt. He was bullied. So we were managing that, managing character, the sort of, I think we spent a lot of time trying to give him really positive experiences, happy families. We weren't happy family. We've always stressed with him unconditional love, but challenge the behaviour. Mm-hmm. So we wanted him to know that he was loved, he was wanted, who he is fine. and that he will learn, and we would walk with him through everything that he went through, and we have tried to skill him to hold his own life and become more confident that way. He struggled with confidence, but we have always been in the background pushing it up, shoring it up. And on the days where he's disappeared into himself, where he's found it really difficult, there are still days where all of us go off into our own caves. So the reality of parenting is, when we are all exhausted, all of us take a time out. All of us just shut down. We allow him to go. In the parenting, we learn about when he blows, let him. Don't rein it in, don't. And give him the space to come back down and talk. We had to teach him to go away, calm down and talk. So the journey has been about me learning a style of parenting that didn't come from home. I've had to learn to be a different type of person. And at the same time, we've asked him, he's watched us trying to be good people and make mistakes and get up and see that, and then talk to him. And when he's made mistakes, it's talking to him. And it's slightly as saying it's we're on it. We try to be on it all the time. Try to breathe. Try to be human. Try not to be, please, 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 if anything, don't beat yourself up, because the job is difficult already. Parenting is difficult. Some days just say today is what it is. And if we got up and everyone's happy and no one gets washed and dressed, that's still a good day. It's still a good day. We're all okay. And the dog hasn't barked today. Everyone's happy. If we fist pump and just check in with each other, are you okay? If my son says, yes, he's okay, I'm good. And I had to learn to rein down my expectations, not because I don't want him to have any, but it's about allowing us to be human.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a takeaway that you would like people to have from you as a mother, or that your child may have said, because I don't know what age they are to you, that's really made you sit and think, what takeaway would you want the world to have in terms of managing parenting or managing a child?
I'm trying to think of something wise, and all I can think of is
I just like if we get up in the morning and brush our teeth, that's good.
I'm stealing that quote. It's really good.
Some days are like that. Some days I've had no sleep because you've been up all night, and some days are, do you know what? We're washed, we're dressed, we're fed, and that's a great day. That's a great day, and I think that's it. I think just appreciate yourself for the simple moments, and don't think you're failing if things don't go right. It's just a learning curve, and what are we taking out of it that we can bring in tomorrow that we are going to do, or what we're not going to do. And equally, speak to your healthcare professionals. Don't suffer in silence. Definitely go and speak to your GP, health visitor, someone, reach out. Don't suffer in silence. And equally, if you think that something's not quite right and it doesn't, you get, a red flag, something where you think, actually, that's not a behaviour that, go and speak to a GP, go and speak to someone about it, because you never know. And it might just be something ridiculous. It might just be a stage that they're going through, and it might be that, later along in your journey you may get a diagnosis, but go and don't suffer in silence, and don't worry in silence either.
No, they were brilliant takeaways, because I think you're right. Scale it back, simplify, definitely.
Yeah.
If I could, I would have just spent more time with my hand in paint with cameras. Yeah, just simplify. And just make a messy house be okay. Don't kind of keep up with the Joneses all the time. It's a burnout waiting to happen.
That's
brilliant.
And don't believe what you see on social media and things like that. Like, just have your own little journey and let them just be free.
Right, so this has been another Speakeasy. I'm Yvonne from BHA. Wishing you all a sincerely peaceful summer night, summer season. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Leah for coming in and opening her heart to us and sharing us the information. I'm hoping it serves you as parents. Tamike, thanks for holding on to the technology and for your questions that have allowed me and Leah to speak freely. This is BHA Speak Easy. Peace.